Hello you guys, and thank you so much for tuning into my channel. So, 2 days ago it was Trans Day of Visibility. For the most of my transition, I have not wanted to be visible as a trans person. I think I very much wanted to just fit into society like everyone else, without creating any hoopla. In the beginning of my transition, I remember how much it would hurt me when people would misgender me. Like, I would have so much anxiety and it would create such depression to the point that I couldn't venture out. And if I ever did go out, I had to always have a full face of makeup. And the reason for that was, even now, but especially back then, I felt that, makeup was my shield. I felt that makeup kind of protected me from transphobia. And it didn't, it definitely helped. It definitely helped, and it made me feel more confident. But I still had instances, I still had experiences where I was getting misgendered. And I had to get to a point where I was just okay with it. So, 2 days ago, I am at the mall. So I'd lost all of my makeup. I went to a friend's place and I accidentally lost my makeup box. And when I got back home, I had to buy more makeup. So I leave the house and, my hair is in a bun and fresh face. But, I think I've gotten to a point in my transition where even without makeup, and even when I have like a bun on or like a do-rag or like a bonnet, even when I'm in a gown, I still feel confident enough to venture out into the streets, because I made a decision long ago that I would never let fear stop me from being an active participant in life. You know what I mean? So I'm out and about with no makeup and it's chilled. And I'll be honest, it was kind of crazy because I was getting a lot of attention from different guys. Like, different guys were trying to talk to me, but I was very much on my own mission. Now I go into the bottle store. This is now after I bought all my makeup. I go into the bottle store. Now in front of me is this older gentleman. He was probably around 51, 49, but he was much older and he was bigger built. Now he's standing in front of me, but obviously because of the lockdown regulations in my country, we have to keep a safe distance. So I'm just letting him finish off in front of the cashier. I'm not rushing. I'm just it's chilled. And he turns around and he looks at me. And then he I notice him look at me again, and then he ushers me to move forward. Now, when he ushers me to move forward, I'm assuming that, he's done buying his things and he's about to move to let me buy whatever I need. So, I walk up there, talking to the cashier, I'm buying my ish. And the man, this gentleman standing next to me, he doesn't move. He literally doesn't move. He stands in the same position next to me as I'm doing this transaction. So I'm whatever. So I notice how he's staring at me, and he starts up a conversation. He says something silly and Xhosa, so then I respond. Now, when I respond, obviously in South Africa I have an accent, and even though I'm fluent in Xhosa, there are a couple of words that if you are really advanced in the language, you're able to pick up that I pronounce differently. So, I say something to him, or I respond to his comment. This is when it starts getting shady. Now, it has been established right from the get-go that this man is trying to chat me up because he's interested in some way. Cool, whatever. I don't have an issue with that. You know what I mean? You know, shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. But what annoyed me is, and what's always annoyed me, and this has happened continually, especially with guys that like trans girls, I've noticed how there's a certain subsection of men that is really into trans women. Now, the interesting thing is, with this one subsection of men, they often think that if they clock you or if they make it known to you that they know that you're transgender, that it will somehow start up some conversation. Now, I will say this though, in some instances it does, but more often than not, when a transgender girl is out in public, she's not trying to get clocked. She really, really isn't. And I know for myself, I'm not out here trying to get clocked by anyone. So when somebody makes a joke, so I'll tell you what he said. He said, oh, so you grew up going to white schools, and then he made a joke about me being like a coconut or an Oreo, and he calls me little boy. So he calls me a little boy loud enough that the cashier and the other person at like this kiosk or whatever it is, that the other person hears, or the other two people hear. Cool, whatever. I literally just continue talking to the cashier because I'm just like, okay, fine, you picked up that I'm trans and you misgendered me. What must happen? You know what I mean? And if I have to be honest, I didn't really care that the cashier heard him because I thought, you know, A, he knows I'm transgender, or B, he probably doesn't give a fuck, or C, he probably thinks the guy is making some stupid statement that has no truth to it. But either way, I was chilled. I was chilled. Now, at this point, after he misgenders me, I do what I normally do. I just ignore the guy. So when a guy, like, you know, calls me some name, like, to try and get my attention and then follows it up by saying I'm so beautiful, I just ignore them. I just shut down. Because I'm like, you started the conversation disrespectful. So don't expect me to be responsive. So he notices that I'm ignoring him, and then he starts talking to the cashier about me. So he's talking to the cashier, and the cashier responds and says, yeah, she's very beautiful. Now at this point, I'm extremely uncomfortable because we have the cashier and the other gentleman talking about, you know, me, and talking about me as though I don't know, they were saying nice things, but the fact that he misgendered me ended it. And he didn't stop there, you know what I mean? Because now him and the cashier are talking, and I'm just like getting my card out, trying to do this transaction. But I very much didn't want to rush out. You know, I was like chilled. I'm like, cool boots, it's all good. Now, the bigger gentleman says to the cashier, you know, he is this, that, and the other, and but he keeps using the male pronoun. So he used it about 3 times, and then I turned to him because I'm done with my transaction now, and I'm really done with this man's energy. So I turn to him and I correct him, and I'm like, you mean she? And then I leave it at that, and I walk away. Now, what's interesting to me is this man, he had been done with his transaction. So he essentially should have left right when I walked up to the cashier. So I walk away and he's still staring at me. He is still staring at me. And it's kind of crazy because I've had these experiences more often than I care to remember. And they've never made sense to me because I've always been of the opinion that you can attract more bees with honey. And instead of you making a joke about the person that you're interested in, it would be more beneficial if you would try and be nice to the person. And that's one thing that doesn't make sense to me about some of these men. I don't know who needs to hear this, but when you see a trans girl, whether she's visibly trans or whether she passes so well that most people would not be able to notice that she's trans, she still has the same fear of being clocked. She still has the same story of sadness, anxiety surrounding being clocked. So I can honestly say this to you. If you meet somebody and you know that they are trans, talk to them like a normal person. Talk to them like they're somebody that you're interested in. You being Jim Carrey and making all these jokes and bringing up the whole trans thing is going to leave you standing alone with no one playing with yourself. So, I continue walking and I'm not going to lie, even though I was very much like, dude. And I very much knew that I was, I very much knew that I looked okay. There's nothing wrong with the way that I look. I still, as I was walking through that mall, was wondering, if that man was able to pick up that I'm trans, how many other people in this mall can pick it up? And I go into this weird thing where I start to sort of look at the people around me to see their reactions to me. And, obviously, once you start looking around, you start catching the eye of certain guys and then they try to talk to you. But yeah, I know that transitioning in relation to my confidence and how I feel about myself is always going to be a sore subject. I know at this point in my life that there are always going to be people that know that I'm trans. I know that even though I don't always want to be visible, trans visibility will always be a part of my life. And I'm at a point right now where I'm like, yeah, if they want to see, let them see. Let them see. Let them see. But I will not be shaken. I will not be upset. I will not be depressed about it. I'm just going to keep on keeping on. And that's what I want to tell to you. There are going to be so many times when somebody tries you, when somebody tries to get under your skin, or somebody thinks that they're being nice. And what I want to tell you is, baby, keep stepping. Ignore it. Let them talk to themselves. Your silence speaks louder than any argument that you can ever think up. And let's just be real. Let's say that guy was not hitting on me. He was hitting on me. But let's just say he wasn't. And he was just trying to, I don't know, let's say humiliate me or just have a fun time. Let's say he was. I'm at a point right now where I realize that there is nothing that I can do personally within my own power to make the wrong person like me. Somebody who is committed to hating me or judging me is going to stay committed to that. And I'm chilled. I don't have to win them over. I will never be good enough for the wrong person. And I'll never, you know what I mean? So I am so good. And now that I think about it, obviously, if I ever date somebody, if I ever get back into a relationship, at this point, I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but if I ever get back into a relationship, I know the type of person I want to be with. I want to be with somebody who respects my transition and respects me in my transition, as opposed to somebody who's going to find humor in it. I love you. Thank you so much for watching. And if you're visible, if you're clockable, stand in your beauty, stand in your truth. It is because of you that the rest of us can live. I love you so, so much, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you all again in my next video. Alright, bye.